Everybody, my name's Nick Thompson, the Gut Doctor, and in this series we look at herbs, we look at health, we look at microbiome, and we look at a holistic approach to health and longevity. And we're really glad to have you along. I'm coming to you from my office in sunny Wiltshire. It's October 23 and all is well. We've just come back from a very good conference in Helsinki last weekend, and lots of people from all over the world coming there to talk about herbs, health, raw food and fresh food nutrition, and how to optimize health for our pets by minimizing pharmaceuticals and maximizing the use of more natural and holistic management techniques. So all very exciting. I'm really buzzing because of that. But tonight we are going to be talking about fillers, and we're going to be talking about provenance, and we're going to be talking about supplements, herbal supplements. Okay, so Rosie is on standby to make sure that everything's working. We've had a few problems over the summer, but I think we have got on top of them. And so without any further ado, I'm going to jump straight in. So I'm going to disappear down there, and we are going to go over here, and hopefully I'm just going to talk for a little while, and hopefully Rosie will be able to say that she can see and hear everything is clear for all of you guys. So we're going to be speaking tonight about herbal supplements and the provenance, ingredients and fillers therein, how to navigate your world, how to navigate around this sometimes murky world. We're going to give an analytical overview of canine herbal supplements. That's a very posh way of saying we're going to do a short but fairly deep dive into the kind of things that you should be looking out for. Obviously, if there's any questions at all, then please get in touch with our friends at Vermex. Cheryl and the gang there will be happy to answer questions. And if there's anything in depth, then I'm very happy to talk to you as well. So please do get in touch with Vermex. Also, big thank you to Vermex for allowing me to put time aside to bring you the latest information on these topics. I presume you can hear me because there's nothing there from Rosie. Normally have a thumbs up, but I presume that everything is okay. I'm just going to pop back and just check, because we did do a show in the summer from Porlock where the whole thing didn't go out. So if anybody can just say that you could hear what I was saying there, and you could see the screen of the presentation that I went to, I'd be really grateful. Anybody, if you can see when I go over, when I go to here, you can see the screen and you can hear what I'm saying, so that we can do the full presentation for you. Just give me a shout, please. Phyllis says all good this end, Nick. John, Annette, good. I think we're good to go. Phyllis, John, Easy Raw, Anne-Marie, Brochy, and Sheila are saying we're in a good place. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you being here with us. Here we go. So, herbal supplements for our canine companions, provenance, ingredients and fillers, an analytical overview of canine herbal supplements. So, provenance. it's kind of a biblical word. It just means where does the product come from? Where did the herbs come from? It may seem fairly obvious. They're grown on farms, or they are from some, perhaps a nursery, uh, or perhaps they're wild, even wild crafted. I'm tiny on your screen, but I've actually got some of my herbs that we use in the practice are wild crafted. This is St. John's wort just here, which we use for cases of anxiety and depression. If dogs can get such a thing, I think they can. And St. John's wort, you've got to be careful of it because it's really quite a punchy herb, but in the right hands, it can be very useful. And in human trials, they've actually found that St. John's wort is as good for treating mild and medium depression in people as is Prozac and the SSRIs. So really interesting. You don't always need a pharmaceutical if you've got a good herbal herbalist, if you're human. Um, but if you've got a good herbal vet nearby, then they might be able to find other ways around. We also use food. We use homeopathics. We used to use a lot of acupuncture. I'm a bit too busy to be using the old acupuncture these days, but we're using all of these techniques. And there's a few of us up and down the country. If you're trying to find a homeopathic vet, for example, have a look at the bahvs.com. If you want a herbal vet, then there is the British Veterinary Herbal Association, and so you can look them up as well to find vets near you. Let's talk about the provenance of herbs. So, basil is not just basil. Fennel is not just fennel. Uh, Turmeric is not just turmeric. Um, it depends. For example, I've just chosen altitude. Height above sea level will determine the growing the growing capability of the plant. Now, you'd have thought everything is going to grow great at sea level, but things, for example, Arnica montana, which is an alpine herb, obviously does better in mountainous and raised situations. So altitude also determines precipitation, determines soil quality, soil type, and so therefore, as an example, all these things make a difference. You can't just grow things where, because you've got an acre behind your house and you want to make a few quid growing some fenugreek, for example. You can grow many herbs in many situations, but for the best provenance, then it will be those growing areas most similar to the native growing of the more wild of the plants. The type of agriculture will make a difference. You can grow many herbs just using a conventional agriculture practices, using tillage and fertilizers and pesticides and what have you. But the agrochemicals that you're putting on there are degrading soil quality, and the agricultural industry, conventional agricultural industry, is essentially going through our stocks of soil, and that's a one-way street, because when there's none left, there is none left. Thankfully, there are regenerative agriculture, and it's enormous in the States. For example, it's something like 25% of farming enterprises around the States will use some or all regenerative techniques, which is very very reassuring. However, 75% have vast stretches Ohio and Nebraska and places, and they're just using the agrochemicals in order to improve yield at the expense of the health of those plants and the nutrition quality of those plants, and at the destruction of the soil, unfortunately. I'm going to give you some references as we go through a little bit further. We've spoken about wild crafted herbs. They're pretty difficult to get hold of. And if they are wild crafted, i.e., they are somebody goes out and picks them in the wild, you have to make sure that they are from sustainable sources. Slippery elm, for example, um, can is a lot of the slippery elm we find is not from sustainable sources, and it's becoming endangered, and so you just got to be a little bit careful. So make sure you speak to your supplier and that you're getting good quality sustainable organic products. So yeah, like I say, altitude will affect soil, the pH of the soil. Yeah, you may be doing everything right, but the pH, the acidity, the alkalinity of the soil may not be appropriate for those herbs. It may be appropriate for 5 out of the 6 of the herbs, but the 6th herb that you're growing is not going to thrive. And if it's not going to thrive, your yield is not going to be ideal. And also the secondary metabolites, the kind of the medicinal compounds, of which there are at least 4 to 600 in every herb, they are not going to come through in the strength and the vitality that you could get from a really rigorously grown product. Obviously, if you're getting an organic product, and this is one that I like to use, we use it with Bluebell and Mouse, who are they're Whippet Italian Greyhound crosses, and so they get the Vermex organic toppers, just a sprinkle on top of the food for a little bit extra, and we're really very happy with those products. Again, thanks to Vermex. This is not a plug for this product. We use it, therefore I'm happy to talk about it. So where's it grown? What are the soil conditions? What is the post-harvest handling? This is not something that you usually think about when you think of the provenance of the herbs, but herbs are often very delicate, not always, but they're often very delicate plants, and there is often a narrow season with which um, to harvest that botanical product. For example, the best time to harvest roots is in the winter, because then all the goodness goes down into the roots. But if you're looking for leaf, the foliar, or the whole plant, then summer, or kind of halfway between the winter and the summer, spring or autumn harvesting might be, so that you've got a balance between root, the richness of quality of secondary metabolites within the root is balanced against those in the stalk and leaf and flower above ground. And then once the herb is harvested, you've got to make sure that the people who are doing this are optimally um, drying, storing, processing, and transporting the product. And if you talk to your suppliers, they will be able to reassure you of the provenance of the herbal products that they're using within their product, which is really reassuring. If you talk to your supplier, whoever it might be, and they aren't able to give you reassurance about these things, then you've got to think twice, methinks. this is something that I find absolutely fascinating, and was delighted to find this book by Montgomery. He's written a lovely book called Dirt, which I read a few years ago, which is literally 350 pages about dirt, but it's a lot more interesting than you think. And this is his new one he's written with his wife, Anna Bickley, who we saw at the um, recent regenerative conference that we went to, which was wonderful, and she was very impressive on stage. And it's looking at soil quality, the mycorrhizal fungi, the bacteria in soil, and how changes in those populations can massively influence the plants that grow in that soil. And then our ruminants and chickens and what have you, who graze upon those plants. Yeah, these are not just plants for us to eat. These are grass as well for ruminants to eat. That will very strongly influence the nutrient content within uh, within within those um, within those animals. For example, they're within regenerative beef, which has come from an animal from a regenerative source. It has a significant vitamin C content in meat. Yeah, in meat, and also in it has a significant omega-3 content. You know, because these animals are not grain fed; they are grass fed. Um, not even grass fed, they're pasture fed. Yeah, grass you could feed a single or double species within pasture, but if it's pasture fed, then you've got 25 to 30 different um, weed and grass species, and so you're going to get an incredible diversity. Another lovely book um, is called Nourishment by Fred Provenza, and now he's a specialist um, in what ruminants eat. And so that's just a little one. I put an image up for you. Provenza, Provenza. I do all these books on Audible, okay? And I was resistant to it. I was thinking, oh, I can't concentrate and what have you. But actually, now I find Audible is just essential for my day to day sanity. Actually, come to come to that. Uh, it's the first thing that I put on in the morning. I've given up listening to the news. I've just heard a lovely phrase today called news sobriety. I have given up listening to the news. So, in order to have that stimulation, I love silence. Even take the dogs out, and I will have silent periods with the dogs and listening to them and listening to the countryside and what have you. But just if I'm cutting the grass or if I'm feeding the dogs or if I'm doing anything, then I love to have an audio book. I really listen to a lot of nonfiction just because I like to learn continually. Every now and again, I'll throw it in a fiction. I'm reading the Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky because I thought I should, but actually it's quite entertaining. So there you go. Enough of my reading habits. Let's get back to our topic. Let's have a look at some of the filler. We talked about provenance. Let's talk about the supplement, the fillers, the dreaded fillers. So the first one, these are just the common ones. If you, I've got a lovely reference for you. It's called Ultra Processed People. I've got the book in the next slide. There are hundreds and thousands of um, additives that manufacturers can put into food and supplements and what have you. There are thousands of being invented from scratch, even every year. And in the States, at least, a lot of these things are not regulated particularly. The manufacturer just say they declare that they believe this product to be safe. Yeah, if that's not marking your own homework, I don't really know what is. But let's talk about magnesium stearate. It's supposed to be a fairly benign, bland lubricant. It just helps the manufacturer shuffle pills through their plant and, drop into the bottle without chipping and what have you. But the problem for me is that all chemicals that go into the digestive tract will have an impact on the microbiome, the gut microbiome. And we know from previous studies that um, any any insult, anything that will uh, shift or change the spectrum of good and not so good bacteria within the gut can be impactful on immunity, on circulation, lymphatics, on even on brain function. I've got a reference for you with regard to microbiome and brain function shortly. Um, And so, if you look in the literature, there are some companies who are looking at rice-derived alternatives. But then I'm thinking, I don't really like giving dogs rice. So it's only going to be in small quantities. And if I had to choose magnesium stearate over a low quantity of rice just to keep the manufacturer happy so that the pills don't stick, well, I would definitely go for a rice. However, interesting, the last few days, I've had a few people say, oh yeah, I put my dog on chicken and rice, or somebody recommended to the dog to go on chicken and rice because they had a bad tummy and their tummy got worse. And I just say to them, listen, I gave up chicken and rice for dogs with tummy problems a long time ago. I was taught it 30 years ago. I was taught it, but now I would use something like, I would go for, if you want something really bland, I would go for white fish or turkey. If it has to be lightly cooked, then fine, with some greens and a bit of slippery elm, sustainable slippery elm, maybe some marshmallow, and that's often a very good way to settle the gut. We find that's really quite useful. But chicken and rice, I think's had its day, even if it's super duper regenerative chicken. I would, I wouldn't go there if the dog's got a slightly runny tummy. This is the book. It's called The Psychobiotic Revolution. It first came out in 2017. The current version of it on Amazon, I looked this morning, is 2019. So I suspect they've either done a reprint or it's been a second edition, because this field is moving extraordinarily quickly. I just put that as a fascinating. And Cryan says, he's one of the authors. He's at I think he's at Trinity. He's a lovely Irish fellow. You can see some TED Talks of his on YouTube. And Cryan says the microbiome can influence the brain. The brain can influence everything. Therefore, the microbiome influences everything, which is wonderful. Yeah, it's a great book. It's very well written. It's very easy to read. It's not, it's not sciencey. Well, it's not esoteric sciencey. It is a bit sciencey, but that's kind of what you want if you're looking into a book called The Psychobiotic Revolution. So there we go. This is all good stuff. Highly recommend that. You can get it on Kindle. I got mine on Kindle. It may be on audio books. I'm not sure. Just as a segue, we're getting quite organized on the Gut Doctor these days. And just to say, we're going to be doing a show our next show on the 19th of October. We're going to be talking about gut, food, and behavior. Gut, food, and behavior. So I'm really looking forward to that. And we're going to be taking some of the lines of inquiry from Cryan's book there, and I'm going to be sharing those with you then. Again, the gut and the brain massively interlinked. The vagus is polyvagal theory, things like this. There's a lot of good stuff to get into just there. So let's have a look at another another one of these fillers that you want to look out for in any supplements that you're giving your dog. One of the challenges when I was talking about these fillers was they all look the same. They're all kind of white powder. So I did my best to try and mix up the images for you, because there's only so many ways you can present white powder. But I've done my best. You can put some, if you if you like the images, please put something in the comments below. So silicon dioxide is very simply, it adsorbs water. It's, you know, those little bags that you get in pills and things. That's okay, because it will that just keeps your capsules, for example, from getting moist and sticking together. But it is used within some formulations as an anti-caking agent. And so caking is when powders will clump together and they won't, you can't spoon them out of the product. For me, the ideal herbal product is so pure and so fresh that it just does not need any of these things in order to perform. And if by the nature of the herbal product there is a slight, you know, it's slightly harder to get an accurate spoonful, I can live with that if my product has not got any of these funny or arguably unnecessary fillers in them. Okay, so they're looking for alternatives. Again, the brown rice comes along, and if push came to shove, I'd rather 200 micrograms of brown rice concentrate than 200 micrograms of silicon dioxide. Thank you very much. Nobody's done any work on magnesium stearate and biome. Nobody's done any work on silicon dioxide and biome, and yet they're all claiming it's fine. They don't know, and I think they're guilty until they're proved innocent. Maltodextrin, it's just sugar. Last time I looked, there are more than 100 versions of sugar, including high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, sucrose, glucose, amylose, lots and lots and lots of different types of ways of presenting sugary carbohydrates, and maltodextrin is one of them. And this, pure and simple, is filling the pot with something cheap because perhaps your herbal ingredients are expensive, or you you don't want, you want to dilute the herbs. You want to splice the herbs with something else in order to make the herbs go further, which is unfortunate. So maltodextrin, there it is. The alternatives, they're looking at apple cider vinegar powder, which is pretty exciting. I'm pretty happy with that, because apple cider vinegar, like it a lot. I think Vermex do a very nice apple cider vinegar, and there's few downsides to ACV, especially the organic products. Really good. So that's there is some light on the horizon in terms of maltodextrin. A wonderful book to look at if you're interested in maltodextrin as part of ultra processed food. This is an absolute cracker. The audiobook is read by him, Chris Van Tilliken, and he's got a wonderful delivery. Very informative, authoritative, humorous. He does a lot of work for the BBC, so he knows how to present, and it's a very easy listen if you want to go there. All about ultra processed food. I've been studying nutrition for 25 years. I've been horrified by ultra processed food for probably the last 10. And I found there was a lot of really fascinating new information in this book. He's done his homework and he knows his onions, does our friend Chris Van Tilliken. So that's a really lovely one to jump into. Okay, so microcrystalline cellulose. What is cellulose? Cellulose is what they used to make movies out of in Hollywood. Cellulose is wood, is plant fiber. Yeah, it's really, really simple, and you'll be horrified to know that in many ultra processed pet foods, they are using cellulose as a fiber source. Yeah, the fiber is coming from a laboratory, and I think it's a real shame. Effect on microbiome unknown. Um, uh, but I would not thank you for this, especially when you can get wonderful cellulose from inulin, from marshmallow, from most herbs. Come to that, you can get some wonderful prebiotic cellulose from so many herbal sources. Why would you want to use microcrystalline cellulose? Well, I suppose it's cheap. Natural binders, other elements are like flaxseed and chia seed, and and I think that they're going to be a much more. That's going to be a superior product, a much superior product. So that's a great thing to look at. Titanium dioxide. Sounds horrendous. It's just used as a colorant. We have no idea what it does to the microbiome. I don't like it. I'd rather have a product that was off-white than bright white. They use it in paint as well. This stuff, not happy with titanium dioxide. Looks quite nice. The chemical structure there. But there you go. Titanium dioxide to be avoided, I think. And even gelatin. I don't really like it. I deal with a lot of, why you put gelatin in your products? Yeah, it's in a lot of capsules. So if your dog is beef intolerant, just beware if you're using capsules. Just make sure they are not gelatin based. If your dog's fine with beef, then gelatin's fine. Gelatin's actually, it's arguably quite a healthy thing. It's derived from bone and tissue tallow from beef animals, and it's kind of a gelling agent, holds things together, fairly benign. Ideally it would be from an organic source, but you can't usually get that kind of detail. I try and use non-encapsulated products if I can. Often I can't, but there we go. Gelatin is one of those things. If your dog's gluten beef intolerant, then just beware of any capsules that may be gelatin containing. So just as a little remark, I think I've gone on a little bit too much. I don't know what the time is, but I think but it's okay. I'm enjoying it. So we have looked today at soil quality and how that influences. We've looked at the book, What Your Food Ate, and I just strongly cannot recommend that highly enough. We've looked at organic and regenerative practices. The regenerative agriculture is the opposite, if you like, of modern industrial agriculture, where soil quantities are reducing. Every generation we see a drop in soil quality and soil abundance, whereas the regenerative farms, they're going in the other direction. They're regenerating soil for the next generation very quickly indeed. They're using ruminants to fertilize and regenerate that soil. So it's a really very exciting side of things. If you are interested in these, email me, and I've got screeds of books I can recommend. Traceability is important. Talk to your supplier just to make sure that they have traceability. They absolutely trust their suppliers. They're growing things well. They're storing, they're processing those herbs. Processing is essentially just chopping and keeping dry. When it comes to a good, simple, organic products like the Vermex product that we've got there, that's the senior blend. And then we've had a look at some of the dreaded excipients. Some are worse than others, but you wouldn't really want any of them on your cornflakes. You wouldn't really want cornflakes, really, if you have a look at it. Have a little read of the Chris Van Tilliken's ultra processed people, and you'd never touch cornflakes ever again. On that happy note, guys, I'm just going to say, remember, Thursday the 19th at 7. We're going to be talking about gut, food, and behavior. We're going to be bringing in Cryan's work and many others, and I'm really looking forward to that. That should be fun. We'll get something organized to stimulate your brain buds. There you go. We're done. I'm just going to come back to you here, and I'm going to hide that one there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at a few questions. We're over time. I apologize, guys, but I've been enjoying it. So forgive me. Jane, lovely to see you. And Laura is there. We love Regen Ag. Laura, that is the right thing to say. The way to a man's heart is through his love of regenerative agriculture. So lovely. Easy Raw says brilliant book. I think that was fairly early on, so that would probably be what your food ate. It's a cracker. Phyllis is a fan of Vermex. That's really good. Emma at the Natural Canine Kitchen is saying hello. Lots of hellos and no questions. That makes my life really easy, so that's great. Emma says she's an Audible addict. Yeah, I think that it's I can't do anything in the house without some stimulation, even just lighting the fire or feeding the dogs or whatever it might be. It's wonderful. Let's have a look. Karen, even Karen is here. Hello, Kaz. I know you sat alone in the forest to get through all these wonderful books. Yeah, but Karen, you're in the car every now and again, and you're walking and in the gym and what have you. But if it works for you, if Audible works for you, go for it. If it doesn't, then it's one of those things. Silence and peace, I think, Jane, is what you were saying. Okay. Great. No, no questions. No questions. Marvelous. We must have hit the nail on the head this week. That's really, really good. You can tell we're just back from Helsinki and just full of the joys of life. Guys, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining. It's been great. I'm going to get out of your hair now. We're going to see you on the 19th with gut and brain and behavior. It's going to be a goodie. We'll see you then 19th of October. Until then, all the very best. Keep well. Think about herbs. Read those books, and we'll speak soon. Thank you.